you're speaking and thinking about. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I think if you look at Russell's discussion of knowledge by description and knowledge by acquaintance, there is such a thing as being able to pick out someone just by description. Aristotle might be one case like that, the last great philosopher of antiquity. Or even the blind sight patient can say, whatever it is, can have a description like whatever it is in my blind field that the experimenter is pointing to. Then you can frame these descriptions all right. You can frame a description like the first headache I will have in 2013. Will it be a sharp pulsating headache, or will it be one of those dull heavy ones? You can speculate like that. Yeah. Will it have been caused by Wittgenstein? I mean, it makes perfect sense. But Russell's contrasting that way of specifying a thing, the first headache I'll have in 2013, with simple reference like this headache or this pain. Yeah. And remember, there was, I won't go over it here, but there was that argument that these are basically quantified expressions, and wherever you go quantified expressions, how many expressions, you've got to have them grounded in the use of simple names. Does that ring a bell? Okay. Then when you've got that use of simple names, I think when you look at what Russell is saying that use of simple names always involves experience of the object. It's not quite like, I mean, Polition offers his account as a way of saying what acquaintance means, but I think if you look at what Russell means by acquaintance, it always has to do with your consciousness of the object you're talking about. I'm acquainted with an object when I have a direct cognitive relation to the thing, i.e. when I am directly aware of the object itself. So Russell was trying to pin down this really basic class of referring devices that are the foundation of all other reference. And that's direct awareness of the object. And he said the word acquaintance is designed to emphasize the relational character of the fact with which we're concerned. It's not that your mind, if your mind is over here and the object is over here, then it is not that your mind is forming a representation that represents that object. It's the awareness is a relation between your mind and the object, in virtue of which you can represent it. Does that make sense? It's a little bit complicated in Russell's case, because the objects are sense data, which are not strictly, they're not really external, they're not ordinary physical objects. They are, as it were, outside the mind, but only just outside. Right, there is a little way outside the mind, so that you can be related to them by this relation of acquaintance. So it's not a type of representation. And you might think it's like that just in ordinary perceptual experience, that if you experience someone else, if someone else is in your visual field, if you attend to someone you can see, then that's a relation between you and that person. That's not basically a matter of you representing them, it's what makes it possible for you to represent them. We'll say we have acquaintance with anything of which we're directly aware, without the intermediary of any process of inference or any knowledge of truth. And then he says, when we ask what are the kinds of objects with which we're acquainted, the first and most obvious example is sense data. Your headache, your sensation of red, you can talk about them because they're just outside your mind, but you're certainly having awareness of them. When I see a colour or hear a noise, I have direct acquaintance with a colour or a noise. In addition to awareness of particulars, we also have, not in quite the same sense, awareness of universals. Not only are we aware of particular yellows, but if we have seen a sufficient number of yellows and have sufficient intelligence, we are aware of the universal yellow. So when Wittgenstein was saying, what happens is, you go, this is yellow, this is yellow, this is yellow, this is yellow, and the person you're trying to teach the meaning of yellow, after a bit, they go yellow, 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 yellow too, then that picture of Wittgenstein's is a picture that doesn't give any role to sensory experience in your understanding of what yellow is. Someone born blind, who had neural circuitry that would allow them to say, that's yellow, that's yellow, that's yellow, and that isn't, they would understand the word yellow perfectly well on Wittgenstein's picture. But Russell's here is saying that's not right. So in order to know what yellow is, you need sensory experience of yellowness. And the reason you need it is not to tell you which particular things are yellow. Because after all, a robot could have that. A robot could have a light meter that was differentially sensitive to yellowness without having any experience of yellowness. A human could have circuitry that would let them be differentially sensitive to the yellow things without having any experience of yellowness. But if you never had any experience of yellowness, you wouldn't know what the thing is. You wouldn't know what the colours are if it weren't for your experience of them. And Russell is saying here, that's what's the key thing for knowing what the term stands for. Seeing a sufficient number and thereby becoming aware of the universal yellow. And then that universal becomes the subject in judgments like yellow differs from blue, or yellow resembles blue less than green does. So just as with that man or that woman, it's your sensory experience of the object that allows you to think about it, so too with the colour yellow, it's your sensory experience of the thing that allows you to think about it. And the universal yellow is a predicate in judgments like this is yellow, where this is a particular sense datum. So the real sticking point in Russell is this, when he says, among the objects with which we're acquainted are not included physical objects as opposed to sense data, nor other people's minds. That's what leaves us all shut away behind our own sense data without any possibility or real communication with other people. That's what I want to do on Friday is try to see how we get over this and liberate this talk about sensory experience as acquaintance from Russell's restriction to sense data and how we can address these problems about informative identities and meaning without reference that are what drove Russell to this position. He talks about physical objects and other people being known by knowledge by description, and we have merely descriptive knowledge when we say we know that the thing exists, we know that the so-and-so exists, then even if we're acquainted with the fact that the so-and-so, we don't know any proposition of the form A is the so-and-so, where A is something with which we're acquainted. And with that example of you and I sitting there and you talking about that woman and I making my guesses, then I can say there's that woman that my friend is referring to, there's that woman that I'm causally responsive to, but I'm not in a position to know anything of that form. A is the so-and-so, where A is something with which I'm acquainted. But it's that knowledge provided by sensory experience that's the foundation of all other reference. That's what we're going to try and take down next time. Yes?
A robot can easily be trained to know the sensory experience of all, recommended based on
yeah.
But could never be trained to use it.
I mean to be talking about robots in such a way that I'm kind of taking you for granted that robots don't have sensory experience. And of course you can give a robot a sensor, yeah, but does it feel pain? does it have the sensation of yellowness? That's what I'm assuming it doesn't have. Yeah. What you could easily do is make a robot that has some kind of sensor that lets it discriminate yellowness. Okay. But you're not suggesting that having conscious experience would be an easy thing to do with a robot?
No.
Okay.
If we define meaning by, okay, maybe I'm meddling with concepts together fairly, but I feel like Wittgenstein is saying that it's not enough to just know what's in front of you.
Right.
Which is what I think is
Yeah.
you need that so much more.
That's correct. That's correct. You do need to have so much more, and that's what I mean. I don't for a moment think that Wittgenstein was just making a mistake. Yeah. There is the whole pattern of use of the term. That whole ability to respond and say this is yellow, that's yellow, to talk about yellowness, to say what a sumptuous yellow, that is an egg-coloured yellow, something like that. There's all that, a creamy yellow. I'm not suggesting that just having a presentation of yellow things allows you to do that. An animal could have that, a sensory presentation of yellow things, and just have no idea what to do with it. Yeah. So the whole pattern of use is something that can't be derived from the sensory experience. Yeah. But what I was suggesting with Tonk was that with logical constants, with logical signs like and or and all that, you can't derive their use from knowledge of truth conditions, but still you need a truth table to give you some idea of what you're doing in using the sign. I'm suggesting that for reference generally, it's kind of like the truth table. It's not that just getting the scene in front of you and you can say, well, now you know how to go on. Now you know how to continue the series. That's not the way it works. But neither is it the case that if you just drill a robot or just drill a human in such a way that they can go on, that's enough for understanding. Sensory experience comes in as providing you with your knowledge of what you're doing when you engage that skill. Is that addressing what you said at all?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Can you explain the diagram of
Okay. Russell's picture is that acquaintance is the relation that makes representation possible. So if I'm going to talk about this headache, there has to be the headache and my having experience of it. Yeah. So experience of the headache is not itself the same thing as representing the headache. It's something more basic than. And when Russell's talking about sense data generally, like a sensation of red, when you say this sensation of red is very evocative or whatever, then the idea is here is a sensation of red. You are related to it by acquaintance, and in virtue of that, you can represent it. To the red sensation, yeah, by acquaintance, and in virtue of that, you can think about it. Yep. Yep. So the basic point there was that acquaintance is more basic than representation. Somehow, when you're thinking about perception, it's very natural to think that perception just involves representing everything in the room around you. But what I was suggesting in cases like that woman, in that case I'm just guessing, what makes it not guessing, when I finally get a good look at the person and I manage to single them out visually, that's what's making it possible for me now to think about that person. And so it's more basic than thought. Is that sensitive relation to the thing? Yeah.
So are you denying that like, perception is a representation?
I'm denying that the sensory experience should be thought of as a representation. Yeah.
So you might be able to not representation.
That's right. It's more basic than that, because the sensory experience is what's making representation possible. So the line of thought here is exactly the same as Russell's, when he says, the word acquaintance is designed to emphasize the relational fact with which we're concerned, is not a type of representation. Yeah. So I'm just using that same argument. Since sensory experience is the platform on which your ability to represent the world is built, that platform itself can't consist in a whole bunch of representations. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, in the reading says that acquaintance also extends to previous experience of objects.
Yes, that's right.
So if I see a red ball today, and
Yeah.
tomorrow I talk about red ball,
Yeah.
he says it's not the case that what we have now has representation. So when I'm speaking of the red ball tomorrow,
Yep.
what am I referring to? Like in my, it's obviously not in front of me, so I can't refer to it correctly. So
Right.
what am I referring to if not the representation?
Well, fasten your seatbelts. What Russell says is, when you think of the relation of acquaintance, yeah, it's natural to think that the relation of acquaintance holds only between you and a sensation of something that is there right now. Yeah. But when you think about memory, I particularly say memory of something that happened just 5 minutes ago. Yeah. Say someone looked in the door, and I'm not trying to make everyone look at the door, but say someone looked in the door, and then a few minutes later you think, who was that? Yeah. Then the idea is you can have a sensory experience. If this is time, you can have acquaintance with a sensation or an item that was distant in time, that was not present. Russell says the memory, the act of remembering here straddles the time series and can be assigned no definite temporal location.
But surely at some point I remember sense period, right? If I had to remember something when I was 5 years old, I may
Yeah.
still have this relation to it, but my memory may be faulty.
Your memory may be faulty, but suppose it's not. I mean, I don't mean to cheat you, but suppose you are in the good case. Yeah, there it is, clear. Dear old Spot, right? You remember Dear old Spot, right? And Dear old Spot comes right before your mind, and then the picture is, when that's happening, you are acquainted with Spot through memory.
But doesn't that require the acquaintance being with something objective? I hesitate to use that word, but it doesn't allow space for wrongness in some sense, because it's not a representation that can be brought in mind, but it's not the thing itself.
It's not the thing itself. So, did you say it is the thing itself?
Like sense data.
Yeah, it's all the thing itself. You said the sensation or whatever. That's correct. Yeah. So I mean, I actually think this is quite intuitive when you think about it. That if you suddenly find yourself, you eat a piece of cake, and suddenly there's Spot live before you remember. You remember those happy days with Spot in the firelight, the family sitting around. All those winter's evenings. Dear old Spot watching the game of dominoes. Then your experiential connect with the past there to the past object. That is what's straddling the time series, and that's what allows you now to think about what was going on then. is because it's just like the case of suddenly identifying which person in the crowd it is that the other person is talking about. Getting that lock onto the individual, that sensory experience of the individual, is what lets you think about them. And similarly in that memory case, if you're talking to me about sport, you're saying, do you remember B-roll sport? And then I suddenly get it. When at that moment when I say, aha, now I remember, that's what allows me now to take an intelligent part in the conversation and communicate about sport. Okay, more next time. Thank you again for trudging through the rain. Okay.